Hey, how are you? Kumusta po kayo? And thanks for tuning in to another edition. Paul Presents Art. My name is Paul, and I'll be your guide today. Today, we're in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, which is of course built on the Lekwungen territories and home of the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations people. And we're inside the Deluge Contemporary Art Gallery. And we're going to go and have a look at Vancouver-based artist Ho Tam's paintings, which he did back in I think it was the early 90s. So I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I hope you can stay, and let's go and have a look. All right? And we're off to see some art. After going up the stairs, we arrive at the landing. Looking up is a small light box that announces the show. We turn left, enter the gallery, and I'll begin to do a pan of the show. We'll go through the gallery in a counterclockwise direction, where we'll eventually end up with the first work in the show. From my perspective, there are two distinct bodies of work in the show. They're all related and painted around 1993 to 1994. I'll forgo mentioning the titles of the work. It's quite evident, with the English words on the paintings being the titles. Simple, really. The dimensions are also rather consistent, around 6 feet by 5 feet thereabouts. For now, I'd like to share a short biography on the artist. Born in Hong Kong, Ho Tam is a Canadian artist whose practice spans video, photography, painting, drawing, graphics, and print media. His work often concerns with mass media representations of race and identity politics. In the past 10 years, Tam has been focusing on his independent publishing practice under Ho Tam Press. His publications can be found in the website hotampress.com. This first work, titled Negative or Minus, is what's left of the 9-paneled work. 30 years is a long time, and things get misplaced, or simply don't survive. However, the next piece, titled Positive or Plus, gives you an idea how this 9-paneled painting installation is supposed to look. The work is composed of the plus or minus signs in the center, surrounded by bust portraits of Asian men. Shirtless Asian men, to be exact. Ahem. I spoke with the artist about the source of these portraits, and Ho Tam told me they were taken from Asian male pornography magazines from the early 90s. At the time, I didn't even think there were porn magazines featuring Asian men, but I suppose I wasn't looking hard enough. And to be frank, I'm sure there are similar porn magazines featuring Black, Hispanic, Arab, a whole slew of beautiful male specimens to choose from, in all shades, shapes, and, of course, sizes. But these portraits, although exemplifying beauty in the male gaze, that's G-A-Z-E, gaze, or gaze, G-A-Y-S, works both ways, I guess, masks some unpleasant truths, and we'll get to that in a moment. We're starting to pan through the next series of work that juxtaposes half to 3/4 length portraits of nude Asian men, with labels from Asian food items. The foods are described in text, both in English and Chinese. The source for the portraits are similar to the previous series. I'm also thinking about the juxtaposition of Asian food with naked Asian men. The work that Ho Tam is doing now centers on creating books, zines, texts, and publications. So the texts in these portraits tend to comment on advertising and printed matter, which from my point of view has been a recurring interest in his artistic practice. Graphic quality and reproduction is important in laying down coherent and succinct messages. Hey, are you listening to me, or are you looking at the pictures? I know, it's hard to concentrate, and looking at paintings is part of the art viewing experience. Never mind, where was I? Right, there's also the aspect of consumables. Food and sex are both consumed. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, you know what I mean? And are both essential nourishment for the body and the soul. So from my point of view, there is a holistic message here, to live life and to live it well. Ho Tam said something about this in his conversation with the gallery director, which you can read in the description area. And I quote, "I've always been interested in graphics and commercial advertising. I wanted to combine some food labels with the figures. Painting itself and painting Asian men were not very popular at the time. I was trying to make a point about the exotic nature of my subject matter, by matching the figures with food products. There was also a saying by Mencius, the Chinese Confucian philosopher, saying that food and sex are human nature. I took that as a cue, unquote. But the underlying elephant in the room, so to speak, regarding this exhibition is the advent of HIV and the AIDS epidemic, which started in the early 80s and affected the mindset of an entire generation of the LGBTQ plus community, but mostly that of gay and bisexual men. The LGBTQ plus community, as we refer to it now, already a marginalized group, became even more isolated. But the 90s was a beacon of hope, thanks to the support of highly visible people in the entertainment industry, in politics, and support from the arts community, that this disease finally got the attention it needed to move forward with a sense of hope and wellness. Around the time these paintings were created, Ho Tam's partner was diagnosed with AIDS. I can only bring myself to think 30 years ago, in the early 90s, what that felt like, what the reception and atmosphere of that diagnosis might feel like. I should also mention something about the painting's execution that may reflect on that. Ho Tam said that those were frenzied times, and he executed these paintings at a fast pace and looser hand, and apologizes for the lack of technical skill. I can only imagine the relative concern, even grief, that his partner's HIV diagnosis had on him, both as an artist and a lover. Perhaps the frenzied pace was due to an immediacy or an anxiety that time is no longer a luxury. But I see these paintings as a monument toward an immediate and real concern, much like how folk artists would paint their real life in a deliberately raw, even unpolished way. It was good enough for what needs to be said, as long as you get the message. Over 30 years have passed, and that's the equivalent to a generation, which means there is a new generation of young people out there who only know about HIV/AIDS crisis as stories in theatrical plays or plots in movie and TV. So these paintings, made during a time of crisis, can be seen again, a whole generation later, as a poignant reminder of where we were as a community, through a dark tunnel, and finally seeing the light. Throughout Ho Tam's artistic career, an underlying sense of humor is used to bridge important and sensitive topics. It has always been there, somewhat hidden for you to uncover. The seduction of the paintings, its subject matter, slowly invites you to investigate more of what's underneath, especially when it revolves around important issues of the day. It's like a clever trap, and it lures you in. Anyway, that's food for thought. Get it? Food for thought? Never mind. And perhaps that's a good place to leave things. I hope you enjoyed this tour of Ho Tam's exhibition, Icons Redux, here at Deluge Contemporary Art in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. If you'd like to share your thoughts, observations, questions, please do so in the comment section below. I'd really appreciate that. Also, click the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It's free and helps the channel gain momentum. As a non-monetized channel, subscribing achieves visibility for the channel and creates opportunities for the artists and the gallery. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you for joining me today. Have a great day, and I hope art continues to inform your life. Tune in again for more art-related videos. Goodbye!